Hello YouTube, this is Judson Game 44 here, and today I'm here to review House of the Witch. Now, this is a movie that many people don't really talk about, and I have only seen a few YouTube videos of people talking about this. And all honestly, to my opinion, this movie was actually great. Not perfect, or not a spectacular masterpiece, but good enough that I would watch probably once every couple of years. I seen this movie a few years ago, and I thought, this is okay. I watched it again and I was disappointed soon after, just a few days later, because, believe it or not, at the very end, I thought something else had happened when the witch had walked through the gate as she transformed with this, wearing like a blue fairy dress, short but still good, with a blue cape that looked like strings or fur, her hair in this style, and said, "The witch." But as it turns out, the second time I watched it and rewatched the scene, I realized immediately the reason why I saw that was because I was half asleep at almost the very end of the movie. It was late at night, for peak's sake. No wonder why, and I was like, what? Because when I realized it, like, what? And still to this day, I cannot believe that actually happened. But no, besides that disappointing, really, I actually did like this movie. I just watched it recently, and honestly, remembering how it was back then and remembering how it is today, I actually do like it. And, well, there are reasons. I can understand why people don't really like it, though. It has low ratings, what I've heard, and not that many people really did like it. To me, this is a movie you would watch, like, every few years if it's on. Or maybe, hey, I haven't seen this movie in a few years, why not I watch it? But really, House of the Witch was honestly a good movie, in my opinion, that I would do. And to all these amazing actors who did this, congratulations, you actually made my day. Now, seriously, House of the Witch, in my opinion, was actually great for a multitude of reasons. Because in a way, it felt real. It first begins with 1 year ago where a couple of kids decided, hey, why don't we go there? It's a bet, and this teenager boy decides, hey, I'll get the numbers off the door. He goes there alone, and then he takes the numbers, but his mistake was he accidentally opened the door, and he called out hello, which alarmed the spirit witch that took the form of black smoke cloud. He grabbed the boy's leg and dragged him in, and then he's been missing. He's been missing for over 1 year. Of course, we never hear anything about that besides getting little hints and details at the beginning, with a missing poster, the number that he'd rip off from the door, his bike in the long tall grass, and quite honestly, you wonder why will they find it. Of course, they never do find the body or anything. I'm guessing the witch got rid of it. But nonetheless, we need to discuss what happens. A group of kids all decide to go. Some are from college, some are not, and they all decide to get together. As it's Halloween, they're all allowed to be together. We get a little bit about their backstories. One is working at the car shop, but doesn't really have that much. Plans to go to college and kind of just jokes around. Of course, if he did listen to his stepdad, he would have actually probably lived. As well, none of them should have went to the old abandoned house. But nonetheless, they all did. What happened here, though, is the same house where the kid went missing is where they're all going. Apparently, there's been a bunch of rumors and everything where this house is haunted by a witch or something. Now, it's all interesting and everything. And quite honestly, it was a good concept. When they all got there, at first they all thought it was funny. There is another kid there that got there a few hours early, and he's with them, but they don't know except for one who is supposed to pull a prank on them. All the kids start running around having fun, where they all think it's just fun and games. But sadly, it took a turn for worse. Some find blood on the floor, but are weirded out. Some are kind of creeped out with the chair moving, and everything just kind of gets a bit weird. But then suddenly, everyone starts to get really creeped out with how everything starts playing. Music starts playing, and then one woman looks and sees someone in the chair and screams, and she claps onto the floor, and her nose is starting to bleed. She gets worried, and so she runs out. But sadly, the door is locked, and everyone is realizing something is completely wrong. Everyone tries to go to the windows, but sadly, they're all boarded up. Now, of course, there's nothing. Everyone is starting to, what the heck is going on? And then that's when everyone's starting to realize this is not a prank type thing because they all realize their friend was there earlier, but that was not part of the plan. And everyone's screaming and yelling at each other, freaking out. One girl puts her hand in the mirror and sadly her finger gets bit off. And everyone's freaking out. And everyone tries to figure out what's going on, and sadly nothing. So, nonetheless, what goes on throughout this movie is that they're discovering things in this house as they're all trying to figure out. They find evidence that a person who lived here was accused of being a witch and her death warrant. She was drowned, and to my guess, she was drowned outside, because we'll talk about that soon. The first person that got murdered was a boy, thinking he was having fun with his girlfriend in the bedroom, but it turns out it was the witch disguised as his girlfriend, and it started attacking her. He was able to get away, but sadly he bled out and died. They found him and was scared, so they tried to escape. The girl actually was able to get out, but only because the witch allowed it. Turns out, though, not because she allowed her to live, but only part of her plan, as she ran and actually fell into the well. And the witch was kind of like toying with her as she was circling around her, running, like giggling and laughing, completely terrifying her, but she fell into the well and drowned to death because a bunch of black hands just grabbed her and sunk her into the deep well. Nonetheless, after that, we go back, and a bunch of other things have happened next. Now, quite honestly, really, we find out where their friend was, Noi, I think it was. And sadly, what happened to him, he was already locked up in a cage, and they tried to get him out, but sadly the witch was able to, when they had the cage up, he tried to get out, but sadly got decapitated by the witch. Horrible. Their other friend decides, they think, why don't we just burn down the place? Because it might work, because they're all realizing, throughout this whole entire movie, they're all realizing there probably might be no way out, and they're all trying to. And honestly, throughout this whole entire movie, they're finding out all these weird things, and they're honestly getting creeped out and running away. And this other woman, sadly, she somehow grew old very fast. Because what was interesting here was, it seemed like each one, if they interact with something, one tried to burst through the door to get out, but sadly they got a cut on their shoulder, which gave them a quick infection that spread all across their body. One apparently got pierced by glass on the hand that was on the floor. And some others, of course, the finger thing. But honestly, really, what happens here is, it's kind of interesting because it seems like one little cut or thing will immediately cause you to be cursed by the witch. The person sadly died from old age, as she apparently rotted. As the others, it was really kind of sad. The other he tried to burn down the place because he thought there was no way out. And the witch is really going insane, really going after them. Once we finally get to the last two, the person, they had it, and they decided to go to the main room where there's all these bottles and everything that are filled with organs, hands, and everything. It is disgusting, but apparently was all for a reason to exist. And the person decides to smash it all, and the witch gets really mad and turns into black shadows going after her. She attacks the man and tries to end him, and he does by spitting black vomit in his face that turns his face completely black. And the woman was able to escape through the window, but it turns out it led underground for some reason, and she sees the police. She goes there and tries to explain what happened, but really once she gets there, she doesn't actually get there in time because she actually goes down in the well. And well, out of everyone else, she was the only one that really did not got hurt or anything by the witch until now. And what happened was, she drowned, and hours later the police found her, or at least what they think they found her, because soon after they find another body, which honestly I just realized after I recently watched this, because I thought it was the other girl that drowned earlier, but as it turns out it was the actual same girl they just pulled out a few minutes ago. But they realized something was completely off. How could it be the same girl? But turns out it was the witch who they saved. And it turns out we finally figured out what was going on. She was taking everything from, as they kept mumbling, she's taking things from us. But what are they taking away from her? I mean, what is she taking away from them? she's taking parts of their bodies, and so she can remake her own body. The last girl that drowned, turns out what she took was her heart and also her ring, which that was sad. But nonetheless, she was able to survive, and when she did, she got out of the car and everything, and was able to walk freely through the gates with a big smile on her face, knowing she had one. Now, that's basically where the scene I told you, where the moment like she burst through the window and said the witch, I thought, dang. But turns out no, I was half asleep. But really, besides all that, I honestly did like the ending. We cut to the picture of seeing her where the person said the witch. All these voices we had heard throughout the whole entire movie. Because throughout this whole entire movie, we had seen the witch trying to take parts of the bodies of her victims throughout the people that got killed, and now we understand why. She was trying to rebuild her body. As she was drowned, and honestly, the well, because there was a cross there as well, I have no doubt that is where she was buried after she was drowned to death. That was sad. And that was a sad ending. The witch had won, and she is free. What will she do now, though, now that she's no longer in that house? Is my question, and everyone else's. But that's where the movie ends. Although she did kill the police officer. But really, other than that, that's kind of it. Now, I will be honest, the reason why I really liked this movie so much was because it was interesting. It kind of felt like real in a way, because everyone, when they realized something was going on, they try to use common sense, like maybe there's something behind the mirror, maybe it's something behind the room, or maybe this, or maybe I was just seeing things. But then when all these real supernatural things started happening, they knew something really was going on and realized this was probably a witch, a spirit, and they were trying to figure out, like, maybe it has something to do with the mirror, because a mirror is supposed to be covered up after a person dies, so their soul does not become trapped with if they see the reflection. A bunch of other things, but dang. Really, throughout the most part, this was honestly a good movie. They try to use their cell phones, they try to do this. But cell phones, apparently, if they're in the house, cannot use signals, which I guess that has to do with the witch. Really, she made sure everything would not work for them to call help. No one could hear them from outside. And when a bunch of kids came, to throw eggs, they tried to bang on the door, but no one heard them inside. So basically, the witch kept silence out. It was kind of really interesting, in my opinion. It's not really one of the best, like I said, that I would come back and watch constantly, but it's one of those movies I can come watch every few years to get like a refresher and like, I remember this. It was good. Because it's not something I wanted to keep rewatching over and over. But it's still a really great movie. I actually do think House of the Witch was a really good movie. It's 7 out of 10 in my opinion. But nonetheless, it's still good to mine. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But really, House of the Witch was really interesting in my opinion. And I hope you did enjoy this review. Anyway, this is Judging Game 44, signing out. Until then, I will see you all later. Bye!